I'm here at drop point 80 on the flat incident near Idaho City, and you can see I'm a little bit dirtier and shaggier than I was a week ago, and that's okay. If you're too clean and yellow out here, then people don't trust you. In the comments of my last video, some people were asking about my HF rig, and so I thought I'd do a quick overview of the gear I'm using, some of the lessons I've learned while I've been out here, and then finally we'll talk about the settings that I use. Before we get started, you need to know I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm not claiming to have the only right answer. I just have an answer, and it seems to work for my needs. I'm vehicle mounted. I don't really need to keep this in a small pack to carry around with me in the woods. So everything I have is stored in this Harbor Freight box. If you don't have a few Harbor Freight Apache cases in your life, then you're definitely not living up to your peak potential. This case holds everything I need, including some quick references. Here you see the band plan, some information about my tuner, my end-fed half-wave antenna, and then I have the Evolve 3 Maestro laptop floating on top of the radio transceiver, tuner, battery charger, and then all the cables and accessories that I need. Setup isn't a terribly fast process, but then again it doesn't need to be. After getting my computer out, I'll get the tuner out and connect it to the radio transceiver with a little bit of coax, and all of my coax has BNC connections, so they're really easy to connect and disconnect. After those two devices are connected, I'll need to connect my radio transceiver to the computer with the DigiRig, and here I just used a bit of green and red marker to show where those plugs go. The DigiRig has three pieces that'll all need to be connected: the sound card body itself, and then, of course, the cable to the radio, and then the cable to the computer. And I like to route those away from all the RF sources just to help maintain a nice clean signal, and everything gets plugged into a USB hub. I use a nice, thick, well-insulated micro USB cable for cat control. It has a built-in ferrite to help cut interference. And then I have a USB GPS adapter, plugs right into that hub, and I just set the antenna part of it right outside the door, so it has a nice clean view of the sky. I can use this for timing for JS8Call, or for my location for Winlink. The uSDX transceiver is powered by three 18650 batteries that go in this separately sold pack, and I found this USB charger for the 18650 batteries to be really helpful on this assignment. Lastly, I connect up about 20 feet of coax with a 1-to-1 on there in line to cut interference, and I wrap the coax around the handle on the back door of the ambulance just to provide some relief from strain. And the antenna goes in an invis configuration. Doesn't even have to be that high off the ground, and it works great.
Air attack operation. There to go.
The first thing I learned was really more of an observation. We saw a lot more Starlink devices this year compared to last year. Last year we only saw one. It was just this guy's home unit that he sunk magnet feet onto that X-shaped mount that they give you, and he stuck it to the top of his car, and it was actually kind of funny because he accidentally left it on one day as we were leaving the line and driving down the highway. The thing was just moving all over, back and forth, trying to find satellites. But this year we saw overhead had several devices. We weren't allowed to use them. Those were only for management. And then some crews actually had their own. They seemed to range from just the normal home type devices to the backpacker style. On one assignment that we had, the internet trailer that they hired at the Spike Camp for people to use to contact their families in the evening didn't have the big round satellite dish on it anymore. It just had a Starlink antenna on the top. And I think this makes sense. Starlink makes a really great product, and I predict market domination by them here moving forward. I think we're going to see a disappearance of the big, expensive cellular on wheels or cow trucks. I think we're just going to see more and more Starlink devices. I am not going to buy more Starlink. I don't want another monthly bill, and they're kind of problematic in the trees. I think you need a pretty clear open view of the sky, and most of the places that we've been ordered to stage have been socked in by trees. And also, in this age we're stepping into of satellite killer weapons, it does concern me a bit. I don't know how resilient Starlink is, and I'd rather just focus on hardier alternatives. The next lesson I learned the hard way was of the importance of writing all of my settings down. Now, I had already saved screenshots of all of my Windows settings, but I neglected to write down the settings of my uSDX, and I accidentally pressed some series of buttons. I have no idea what, but it reset all of my settings on the uSDX transceiver to factory defaults. So I had to start from scratch, and it worked. It worked fine, but it would have been a lot easier if I had those all recorded somewhere. I did figure out what I think is a clever way of adjusting the reference frequency without another transceiver to help you align that. In Winlink, if you can get connected to a gateway, you have the AFC, which I believe is automatic frequency control. You have that AFC meter. And so that will tell you how far off you are from that gateway's frequency, and assuming that they're aligned correctly. If the needle is too far to the right, you just go into that menu 8.3, the ref frequency, and twist the knob to the left. If the needle on the AFC meter in Winlink is too far to the left, then you twist that knob to the 8.3 menu to the right. And I was able to dial it right in. I realized the importance of having a backup power method for my true uSDX. I accidentally left the little power cable for it back in my tent, like an idiot. But luckily, I was still able to hit some Winlink gateways within a few hundred miles with just the half a watt it outputs from the power it gets from the micro USB cat cable. Had I needed to output full power, I could have used the 12 volt cable that I have put together for my Evolve 3 laptop, because it takes a 3.5 by 1.35 millimeter plug. Also, the true SDX just so happens to take the exact same size plug, so I have a little bit of crossover built in there. The end-fed half-wave antenna in the NVIS configuration met my communication needs completely. I was very satisfied with its performance, but it was way too slow to bring in, and since we are in an emergency response capacity on these incidents, we need to be able to get on the road immediately. And so there was an incident where a firefighter got smacked in the ribs by a large boulder that rolled down the hill after him. And so, just as I had planned, I disconnected the antenna, pitched it in the woods. We went and took care of business, and I got it back at the end of the day. But I have an idea for an antenna that I think will be very quick to reel up, that would much better meet my needs out here. And so I hope to test that out so I can show it to you soon. The firefighter ended up being just fine, in case you were worried. The last lesson I learned is that I need to be packing thermals year-round. It got very cold. Despite it being August, it was 40 degrees some nights up here at elevation, and so that is going into my pack as soon as I get home. I'll wrap this video by showing you the settings that I use. Remember, these may not be the best settings for you. They might not be the only way to set these menus. Just consider them a good jumping off point. When you see the slide you want, pause the video. Enjoy.